our evening session of our 2023 Kindergarten 101. My name is Joshua Brazil, and I am the Executive Director at Parents for Public Schools of Pitt County. And so this is one of the things that we offer every year for parents of children that will be entering kindergarten in the fall. My guess is that most of you walked into the room with at least one, if not many, questions about the kindergarten process. And perhaps even some anxiety about your child starting kindergarten. So our two goals tonight are to answer as many questions that you brought with you that we can, and then to try to lower any anxiety that you brought with you about the process. We are going to record this. It is recording, so we can put it on our YouTube page, because there are some folks that, for whatever reason, weren't able to be here. And so this will allow them to be able to watch it later and hear the great information that we have to share. I wanted just to really quickly tell you about our organization and what we do. So we're all about supporting our public schools and the staff, the students, each and every student that goes to a Pitt County school. And we do that through three primary programs. Number one is school tours. You'll notice around the room there's some flyers, and it has a little QR code on the bottom. If you have not yet signed up for one of our spring tour series tours at one of our schools or multiple schools, before you leave tonight, I invite you to take a phone and just hold it up with the QR code. It pulls up the whole sign up of all of our schools and when the tour is going to be. So every spring we do a spring tour at each and every Pitt County school. And so if you haven't decided yet which school you'd like for your child to attend, you have the perfect opportunity to tour one or more of the schools. We really encourage you to go see it. You can look about it on the website and you can read about it, but you really don't know the school until you walk into the building. And so we offer school tours each spring at every school. We usually end up with several hundred people that walk into our schools and see them firsthand. And then throughout the year, if we have somebody that moves into town, we get connected. Often a recruiter at the hospital will call us, and so I'll meet them at a school and show the family our schools. And then we do community leader tours in the fall for leaders in our community to learn what our schools are. We often have bankers and realtors that will come, people that interact with families on a regular basis. And so when they ask questions about Pitt County schools, they can tell them, I've been in our schools and here's some great things about those. Another thing we do is we do community conversations. So every year we invite different groups of people across the year to come be a part of 5 simple questions that we ask. And it lets us ask questions of parents and community members about Pitt County schools. And then we give a full report. Every word that is said is written down meticulously, and that is shared with district leadership and our Board of Education. So that gives them a pulse of what people are saying about our school system. And then we make some recommendations based on what we heard. Last year, the theme that we heard was more. We need more funding. We need more teachers. We need more. So I just gave them an idea of what parents and community members were saying about our local school system. And the last key component that we have is our parent engagement program. And it looks like 2 things. Every other year we do a parent engagement cohort. And this year we have 25 individuals that are in that cohort. And so one day a month across the year, we spend a day together learning about public schools. How does funding work? What are our boards of education? What is their function? So we learn all about schools and how to be advocates and supporters of our public schools here in Pitt County. And then every other year, we do usually a once-a-month seminar on a variety of topics. And then this is considered one of our parent engagement programs to engage you, parents, as you're getting ready to enter into the public school system. So we say welcome to Pitt County Schools and welcome to Kindergarten 101. So yesterday morning, Dr. Linker, our superintendent, was able to join us. Unfortunately, tonight, he is not able to be here, so I'm going to offer a word of welcome on his behalf. And one thing he said yesterday to the group was that this week is National School Choice Week. And at Pitt County Schools, you have a choice of a variety of public schools to attend. Pitt County Schools has one of the highest number of open enrollment school opportunities of any district in the area. And so you're going to hear more about tonight about open enrollment and your choice of options of schools you can go to. At the end, we're going to have a chance for a question and answer. The only caveat to that is our first speaker has to leave after her presentation. So if you have a specific question about Lisa's presentation, we'll take just a brief minute to answer questions around that. Otherwise, we'll hold our questions to the end because my guess is that one of the other presenters will answer that question for you. So again, welcome, and we have an incredible lineup of 7 individuals that are going to, on one hand, overload you with information, but on the other hand, answer a lot of your questions. And so I'd like to first welcome up Lisa Tate. Lisa is the PCS Director of Elementary Education. Welcome, Lisa, and thank you for being here.
That's so nice. Thank you. Not used to getting applause. Welcome tonight. I'm very happy to be here to talk to you about kindergarten registration. Did you know by the age of 5, your child can know 13,000 words of vocabulary? But how many questions do you think they ask you each day? 13,000. Okay, not quite, but close to. Anybody else have a guess? Try 400 to 500 questions and words a day. As a kindergarten teacher, I'm right there with 13,000. But they do. They have a lot of questions, and that's why we love it in kindergarten. So I'm going to start off with the first part of it, which is the registration process. And you're going to hear something from Ms. Harrington when she comes up here, and Ms. Covington as well, the steps. Obviously, your child must be 5 by August 31st to be eligible for admittance. On the second bullet, all of our registration in our schools take place in March. So you can actually go to the Pitt County website, and it asks you a question, I want to, click a down button, and it'll take you straight to the registration dates of every school. So whatever school your child will be attending, it's going to give you those dates of when you can go. I often get, what if I can't make it that day? That is perfectly fine. We have registration all year long, all the way up till school starts. But we like to suggest highly that you attend that because those are ways of getting to see the kids in the school, getting to know the principal beforehand, before you get to the next phase, which is open house. We do have all registration forms in English and Spanish, and a lot of times people ask, where are those registration sessions? Oftentimes they're found in the media center. They're set up, they're ready to go for you there. I'm not going to read this to you, but and I also wanted to show you, if you get a chance to grab one of these booklets, this is going to tell you everything that all of us are speaking about today. It's a really great booklet that we create here at PCS. It has all this information in it. And if we run out, every school has plenty. So when you stop by the school, you'll just ask them. It's called the ABCs of Learning, and they'll be happy to give that to you. And it has all this information in it. Again, school tours. I know Joshua talked a little bit about school tours. That is one of the things that the principal, Ms. Covington, is going to talk about. That is very important to go and see because it helps, first of all, your little one see the school and not quite be so anxious, but it also helps them see teachers in action, go see the media center, the cafeteria, things that they can get excited about. So we highly encourage you to do the school tours. Also, I get asked about assessments. What are they going to ask my child when they come? Every school is different, but primarily, and they're going to ask you, ask your child their name. Can they count 1 to 10? Can they recognize letters? Just very basic things to get an overall picture. We don't go quite as deep as we used to. Like back in my day, it was a major deal to have an assessment because we do have what's called M-Class. And you may have heard about that. That's a program that the state of North Carolina uses to assess in reading. So we will do that the first couple of weeks of school on every child that's in kindergarten, first, second, and that gives us a good picture of where the child is. So I'm often asked, what are we doing in kindergarten? What's happening? Well, these are the things that are happening. You're going to have horseshoe tables for those of us that love horseshoe tables. Those are the very much sought after in a school building because a teacher has a seat and then the kids can sit around. So we do small group guided reading instruction, and some of the things we work on are letter sounds, rhyming, and sight words. Back in the day, I like to say, because I'm much older, we had housekeeping, the refrigerator, the oven, the play. That's what a lot of the stations look like, is just playtime. Well, that has moved greatly into a lot of rigor in kindergarten, and the expectations are, like I said, with the vocabulary, is being able to start reading in kindergarten, which we all hope happens. We also talk about writing. Kindergartners love to talk to us about their dog, their cat, what the brother, sister hit them last night, what trips y'all been on, all the things. So they do learn to retell stories. Sometimes to my point earlier of the 13,000, it can go on and on and on, but that's what we enjoy about it. They're very excited. And so we have them to have ways of telling stories. They learn to write. Some of the expectations is for them to have 6 to 7 sentences by the time kindergarten is over, and that seems like such a high expectation. They all handle it. Ms. Covington will speak to that with her kindergartners. We start small, but by the time the year's up, they should be writing, especially their name and some things, sentences that they have in class. Math, again, just simple things. Geometry and measurement, believe it or not, in kindergarten is a big deal. We really go through a lot of those things, recognizing patterns and shapes and solving problems. That's why we suggest when you're cooking at home, you start having your kindergartner help you and start talking about measurements and having them count the cups. All those things are very helpful when you are learning math for our students. That's all right. Now, science is what they really love because, like the volcano that blows up, we've all seen that and done that in our time. They love to touch bugs, leaves, anything else that's out there. They enjoy. We have what's called STEM in a lot of our elementary schools, and that incorporates science and math, and it gives students opportunities to apply what they've learned. And so that's something, if you go on a school tour, that's a room or a place or a lab that your child can see and see how cool it is to be able to enjoy that. And for most of us that are in education, this is the one that we feel like is the most important, and that is truly how to teach your child to get along with others, citizenship, classroom and school community, being leaders in their classroom. That's where they learn to share, because they may not be doing that so much now, or they may be an only child and they've got to learn, I've got to share this tool that I'm working with someone, or a toy. So we really concentrate in kindergarten on these things about community and learning about ourselves and others. Now, I know I talk fast because I am a teacher, so I know I went through a whole lot at one time, but please feel free at this time to ask me any questions, and I'm glad to answer them. Yes?
Are there only single dates for school tours?
No, there are several days. That's a good question. A lot of the schools will offer you 2 or 3 days and different times. And with school, for registration, for school tours, I know he's going to talk a little bit more about that, but they will have like a set date, and if more people ask, then the principal will accommodate that. All principals will do school tours. If it's 2 of you, or if there's 8 of you, they will definitely do that. So that's a very good question. Anyone else? You have a question, you cutie pie. Well, I know a lot of the questions are with the person that's coming after me, which I think it might be Miss Harrington. Is that who's next?
No, she's 2 more.
2 more. Miss Harrington will be talking to you about open enrollment and other types of registration. But thank you, and we're excited to have your little ones when it comes in the fall. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. 2 things that I failed to mention. If you need a restroom, just straight out the door down the back hallway. It's right on your left. You can't miss it. And if we need an interpreter for Spanish, I've got somebody here tonight that can assist with that. So if you do, please let me know, and we will help assist with that. Real quick to your question about school tours. So right now we have 1 school tour at each school that we've helped organize and plan. A lot of schools with kindergarten, with open enrollment and/or they have a day that they set aside for you to come be a part of a tour. And so if the tour date that is assigned at the school you want a tour doesn't work and the school doesn't have one, get with me and we will figure it out. Okay? So I like to say that Lisa gives you kind of a 30,000-foot view. That we like to bring in an actual elementary school principal that's in the building day to day and the lived experience with that. And so Allison Covington from South Greenville Elementary, where I worked for a year as a kindergarten teaching assistant. She is a phenomenal principal, a wonderful person to work with and for. And she's going to tell you from an administrator perspective from her school what kindergarten is all about.
Good evening, y'all. Okay, so my favorite people are the ones that are about 5, just so y'all know. So if you're about to join kindergarten, are you excited? Yeah? Oh, I see a big grin right there. Super excited? Oh, well, we are excited to have you. Your principals are going to love you. I'm Allison Covington. I am the principal at South Greenville Elementary School. We're open enrollment. So if you're interested, come visit. It is a little hidden secret in Greenville, so I'll put that out there. I told her I had a lot of clicks, so I was told I was going to click. All right, so we're going to talk about the things that you really might not think of, right? We think a lot about the academics, and I'm going to talk about that, but a lot of things, just taking care of their personal selves helps a lot. If you've never been in a kindergarten classroom with 5-year-olds, it's like herding cats, okay? So if they can put their jacket on, that helps a million times, okay? So we're going to talk a little bit about the things you might want to work with your child. If they're not already doing them, that helps out. So the first thing is really just self-care. So putting their shoes on, knowing how to tie them. My son would be very embarrassed if I told you how old he was when he really learned to tie his shoes. Because Crocs are life these days, right? So, but as long as they can put shoes on, take them off, things like that. Zippers, buttons, pants. Now, if your child, like mine, had OT issues, right? It was hard for him to do things like that. Let your teacher know, okay? Just communicate that, but it's so helpful. All right, guys, time for recess. It's cold outside. Put your coat on. Zip it up instead of Miss Smith having to be like, okay, right? Takes 10 minutes out of recess. So things like that. Coats, hats, putting them on, taking them off, hanging them up. Thank you. Potty training, okay? And sometimes we don't think about that. And we do have some kids that have special needs that have issues in that area. Again, just communicate that with the teacher. But if they can clean themselves, wash their hands, a lot of our kindergarten classrooms in the district have, and when you do your school tour, which I highly suggest, ask and see if they have their own individual bathroom where they can go in. Ours do. That's why we're open enrollment. So they can go in, they can wash their hands and do whatever they need to do, and head back to class, okay? So that would be one thing that I ask your kindergarten teachers, okay? So some communication and social skills. As Miss Tate said, as Miss Tate said, they're very social and they want to talk, and we encourage a lot of that. But you want to make sure they also can communicate just their basic needs, right? If they need to use the restroom, because we definitely don't want them to have an accident or anything like that. So can they communicate restroom? Can they communicate, my stomach's not feeling well? Just talking to your child about, look, if you have a really bad stomach ache, please let your teacher know. These are things that we don't think of. I didn't think of as a parent, right? Super helpful, though, to a teacher who has 25-year-olds, okay? And when they have a concern or when they have a need, okay? If Sally stole my pencil, be able to raise my hand. Sally stole my pencil, right? That's usually what it sounds like. But just being able to communicate appropriately. Thanks, Sarah. Okay, my name. So this is a big one. All right, you can click it again. So we have a lot of juniors. Well, I'm junior because you may be a junior, right? But that's not your legal name. So when they're coming through the lunch line, what's your name, baby? Junior. Okay, what's your first name? Junior, right? Okay, let's look it up. All right, so they need to know their first and their last name. It sounds crazy, but I promise you I have a lot of kikis. My own daughter's nickname is Bug, so she wouldn't get, my name's Bug, all right? So just make sure they know how to communicate, because in the lunch line, they're going to say, what's your name, and we're going to talk about that. They need to know their first and last name, okay? Also, let them know your name. God forbid an emergency or anything like that, and we have to get in touch with you quickly, make sure they know your first and last name. General location of like the neighborhood. Can you go back one more for sure? Like, I don't need them to know my address, right? But if they can tell me, I live on Vernon White Road, or I live in Glendale, or I live in Manchester, right? They can tell me a general location if we need to know, let's say we can't get a hold of you and it's time for buses or something, and we need to try and figure out, okay, wait, baby, where are you going? That is very helpful too, okay? And names of important people. So maybe grandma's name, or maybe a neighbor that you trust. But something in case of an emergency, you know, can you call my Aunt Susie? That's helpful too, okay? All right. All right, so kind of moving into learning, Ms. Tate did a good job of kind of talking about the specifics. But here are some things, and I got these from kindergarten teachers, okay? And I said, if you could have every kid come in and just do the basics, what would it be that would be so helpful? One of the things was holding a pencil. We have a lot of kids, some color, right? But they may color like this, right? If you can work with them, now I don't hold my pencil right, don't judge me. But if they can hold a pencil, right, in some sort of correct way, super helpful. Because then during writing time, the teacher's not having to mess with the kid's finger, right? And then take away that good writing time. Now, if they can't hold a pencil, we're gonna work with them, okay? But if that's something you can go ahead and start with at home, it's wonderful. Cutting with scissors. So, a lot in kindergarten, we work on fine motor skills and gross motor skills. That's why usually they get more recess time, right? They're practicing cutting, gluing, glue sticks. Teachers never want glue, like the liquid glue, don't buy it, okay? Glue sticks. And if you're a parent to let your kids do crafts, you know what I'm talking about, right? So, glue sticks, knowing how to use them, knowing how to put a piece on a piece of paper and stick it to a piece, right? Without it going all over the place. Coloring, we don't expect them to color in the line, but can they work on those fine motor skills to shade and things like that? How to raise your hand to ask for help. And this is something we're gonna teach them. But if they already know, okay, Sally took my pencil, and I know to raise my hand, it's super helpful, okay? If they can identify letters, they can probably all sing their alphabet, but if you took letters, and I'm gonna tell you a great strategy to use, take them, put them out on a computer, cut them up, mix them up. What's this letter, baby? That's a B, right? If they can do even, now let's start with uppercase. If they can do uppercase and lowercase, they are coming in ahead of the game, okay? So print them off, you can buy them at the dollar store. The dollar store has the alphabet cards. They even have number ones, they have shaped ones, right in the teacher section. And you can just kind of quiz them. If they can identify letters, they are ahead of the game, okay? And then we can work on letter sounds and things like that. We have a program called Reading Horizon that teaches them about all the different, you'll hear them, they'll be like, right? You're gonna be like, what is going on? But it works on the sounds, it's helpful. How to hold a book, okay? They're gonna start off reading. If they know, I hold a book like this, and I open it like this, it's not upside down, and this is the way I flip the pages, right? That teaches them directional reading. That goes ahead and kind of imprints in their head when we start to tell them, okay, now we're gonna read this way. We're gonna read left to right. They've already ahead of the game, okay? So just teach them, and you can even ask them, hey, where's the front of the book? Where's the title page? Okay, can you show me a period? Can you show me a capital letter or an uppercase letter? Identifying pieces of the book are awesome. Another reading strategy you can use is do what's called a picture walk. You can take a book and don't read the words. All you do is have your child go through the pictures, okay? And you just have them kind of talk through, what do you see? What do you see on this picture, right? What do you see on, and then go read the book. You can compare what did they comprehend from the pictures versus what the story was about, right? Helps with reading comprehension and oral comprehension. So it's a great skill. And then if they can identify just primary colors and shapes, that's helpful for math. Okay, so things they're gonna be asked to do that you probably don't even realize. The first one, as Mr. Brazil can tell you, being in elementary school, imagine your sweet children who are right here, and we go through the line, and they say, okay, baby, your number is 063452. Punch it in. Okay? A lot of our kids can't identify numbers yet. But they literally, sorry Gretchen, but they literally have a keypad that they punch in. Now, our school, which is open enrollment, has the scanner. Okay? So we just have the scanner. Your kids don't even have to worry about punching in a number, okay? But they will. They'll have to go through a line, punch their number, or scan a card, okay? So again, what's important for them to know there too? Their what? Lunch number and name, not junior, right? Their name, okay? Know their transportation, okay? So know if I'm a bus rider, know if I go to Boys and Girls Club after school, know if I go to Little Sunshines, whatever it may be, okay? Some of your schools have United Way programs there. Some of them have community schools and rec. Those are all great programs, by the way, if you're interested in after-school care, if your school offers it. And know just how they're getting home, okay? I'm gonna be a car rider. Now, when you go to open house, super important, most of the teachers will have your little sign-in sheet, and they'll ask you, how are they getting home the first day of school, okay? First day as a kindergarten parent, you probably wanna pick them up. You'll be like, okay, how was your day? Great. And then the rest of the time, you might be like, get on the bus, okay? I'm good now, all right? So that first day, make sure it's very clear how your child is getting home. I will tell you as an administrator, the first day of school, we say, get them in, get them fed, get them home safe. That's it. That's all we're worried about on the first day of school, okay? So be very clear about transportation. I will say throughout their career, because if you have transportation changes, it really can throw things off. God forbid somebody gets on the wrong bus and we're looking for them, right? So just always communicate that with the teachers. And, oh wait, I wasn't done. All right, and then know how to get to important places in the building. So when you go to open house, please go to open house. Meet the teachers, meet the principal should be there. Go to the cafeteria, let them see the media center, find the gym. Our gym at South Greenville is the rec gym, brand new, state of the art. That's why we're open enrollment. Okay, so the gym over there is fabulous. But no, go and see all those things in the building so that your child kind of knows how to navigate, right? Just their basic needs, bathrooms, all of that. And then the last thing, it's going to be fine. Okay? It's fine, it's going to be fine, they're going to be fine. The people in the building are going to take such care of your babies, I promise. Every principal I know, every kindergarten teacher I know has died to be a kindergarten teacher, okay? Because they love the littlest ones. Now, I was a middle school teacher. I know, that's crazy. But I loved it, right? And then when I got into administration in elementary school, I was like, 5-year-olds, right? But they're amazing. And kindergarten teachers in every building that I've ever been truly love your kid. And any administrator I know is gonna make sure that they take care of your child. If you have open communication, if you make sure you visit, go to parent conferences, do the school tours. South Greenville's is March. It's on the list, I can't remember, but I can't wait to see all of you. But just really make sure that, or know that everything's gonna be okay. After that first week, there may be some bumps, but it's gonna be good. Your babies are fine. Okay? Any questions for me at all? Awesome. Okay. February 27th, South Greenville. Thanks, y'all. Thank you.
Extremely practical ideas. And as a bus driver, former bus driver, you really want your kid on the right bus. It's really stressful when you pull up to a stop and the kid doesn't get off because they got on the wrong bus. lived experience. Make sure they know. So Karen Harrington is the PCS Director of Student Services, but she wears many, many, many hats. But tonight she's going to be talking about open enrollment, and so I'll turn it over to you.
Okay, so if you didn't know, Ms. Covington, she did not share that, but she was the regional principal of the year last year for our region, and in our minds, she was the state principal of the year too. So, and she would like you to come to South Greenville. So, don't rule out South Greenville. Don't rule it out. So, just wanted to go through a few things about enrollment. Ms. Tate spoke to them as well. If you can just advance. Just so you know, all the required documents and everything, it's probably also listed in your book, but it's also online on this website. Will they have access to this PowerPoint? Or no, probably not. Okay, well.
No,
But it's on the website. It's on the website under student assignment. Just make sure you have your required documents. There is an online application you can complete via PDF just to get yourself ahead of the game. And this will be addressed by two of the other speakers as well, but schedule that health assessment and your immunizations ahead of time, early. If you're not already in compliance, schedule them now because it gets behind. But if you're going to your well child checkups, you should be on time. Like if you go regular, they're giving them to you before they're needed. But there is a state law saying that after the 30th day of school, if your child does not have both of those completed, we do have to keep them home until they can be completed. And with the way medical has gone, offices are backed up. So just go ahead and check into that now to see if your kids have your immunizations. And they'll talk more about that later. So open enrollment, a lot of people are interested in this. Open enrollment does not open until March 1st. Please do not apply ahead of time. If you apply now, your child's not even in school, so it won't even really make sense. But you can't apply early. It opens March 1st. From March 1st through the 15th, or when we first accept all the open enrollments, we do accept that after that, but during that time, you will not hear back. So if you apply March 1st when it opens, don't ask me on March 2nd if you're in or not, because I'm not going to tell you. I have to get everyone's in that first time. So don't call, don't email. We may just not even respond to those calls. So it's for, just do it after that time. The list will be, the approved list will be shared publicly, formally, at the February board, after the February board meeting, which is February 6th. It is very similar to the current list. I cannot share with you what any changes are, but if you read the Daily Reflector yesterday, or you go back and look at that, they listed those changes, but I have not been given permission to share those changes. But it's very close to this year, but one school was removed. We are anticipating some changes to the open enrollment policy, but that won't affect most people. It's more about if you're doing it at the beginning of the year. What we need to do is, we've kind of got open enrollment going on all year long, and there's some issues, particularly as you get up to the upper grades with changing mid-year. So we're looking at that, but that probably won't impact this school year. The requests must be completed online. We moved to that during COVID. So there is under student assignment again, under open enrollment, you can see the list. And then there's an online, you have to create an account. You fill out that information and then we will email you back your approval. So if somebody hands you in a school a paper copy, I'm going to just say, I received this, but you need to go online. So make sure you go online. If you request schools that are not on the approved list, it will be denied. So if they're not on the list, they're not open enrollment, you can't apply for those schools. Also, don't, if you call and ask me which is the best school, I probably have a very different opinion than other people based on where my children go to school and that I love my community school. But I don't know your child. And so what is best for my child might not be best for your child. And even sometimes within your own family, this school is really good for this child, but maybe it's not for the other child. So We think all our schools are the best. And so we're not going to make recommendations. The tours are a great way to get information about what each school offers and what, makes it unique. And that's all I have about open enrollment.
There's very likely some additional questions related to that, and we will get to that at the end, so just hold on to those questions. If you don't follow our Facebook page, I shared a post, and there's like an arrow pointing to the drop-down menu where to click open enrollment. So Pitt County Public School, Parents for Public Schools in Pitt County, you find a picture about open enrollment. It's really easy to find on the PCS website. So next we have Gretchen Wilson, which is the PCS Director of School Nutrition Services. All of your children will very much enjoy having food to eat while they're at school.
Well, I'm so glad to see you here tonight. It is a lot for you to take in, but this is a good part of information you're going to need to know. So as your students come into our program, they'll be offered breakfast and lunch always. They may be offered after-school snack, depending if they're in an after-school program at the school site. We do have fresh fruit and vegetable grant at 7 of our schools currently. Next year, I'm not sure, that's an annual sign-up and approval, so I cannot promise who has them, but we did list who currently has an after-school snack program. The after-school snack program is a program that's just for elementary schools, and is to offer more than we do at the breakfast and lunch opportunities. So those schools have 1 day extra of a fruit and 1 day extra of a vegetable that we offer outside of the breakfast and lunch time. So some actually use it as a snack, and sometimes, it's just an enhancement of their day. But those are opportunities for them to get more items and an opportunity of the items that we wouldn't usually carry on our regular lunch line or breakfast line. Summer feeding is also offered through our program. So let's go over some of the things we do. So when you get there, you're going so do I need to pay? What do I need to do? Eligibility is determined annually. So we do that every year starting July. The application for free and reduced meals is posted mid-July. It will be available at the schools in early August. So you can get it online from the county school website under our department. You can get it from the school. Any of the schools will have those. You can go pick those up and get those filled in and turned back in either at the school level or at central office or through our secure email that we do have posted on the website. Direct certification is something that we do on your behalf. We do pull down from Raleigh from different services that you might be getting benefits from, and it might make you eligible already for free reduced meals. And if so, we pull those down. We go about 3 times a week when we go pull from that site. It's not ready, though, until right before late July, early August. So we start that pull down as fast as we get that notification, and we get letters out. So you might get a letter even before school starts if your child is enrolled. So that's one thing. Even if you send an application in late July, early August, if the school doesn't have you in the Power School yet, it's going to sit there. So don't get upset if you're not matched up yet. I can't match you up with the school until the school has you enrolled. Okay, so the application might sit on our desk for a little bit. Otherwise, we have to have applications done within 10 days from receipt to our office, not the school. So if you do it by the school's got to get through the courier to our office. Once it gets to our office, we stamp it. So again, you can turn it to our office or through the secure email address. And that does last for the whole school year. If you do have changes, though, in your household number, size, or the finances, you're welcome to redo your application or to do one later in the year. If you thought beginning of the year you didn't need it, but some things have changed and you need to, feel free to do it. We take applications up until the last day of school, because whatever the student has for their meal status carries over the first 30 days of the next school year. So whatever their freshman status was will carry over to their first grade status, okay? That gives the parent opportunity to get either direct certified for the next school year, to do an application, or whatever they need to do to get hopefully those resources back again, because again, it's an annual process. It does cost your students to eat with us. It is $2.50 currently for lunch and $1.25 for lunch, unless you do have free reduced status. This year, North Carolina did bring in the coverage for the reduced students' lunch copay. It's usually 40 cents for lunch. North Carolina thankfully covered that. They've been covering the breakfast copay. So the reduced student does get free breakfast and lunch free breakfast always. Lunch, we're hoping that the legislators will still continue to cover that. If not, it is 40 cents for lunch. There is CEP, community eligibility provisions, at 23 of our schools. So if you are going to be enrolled at a school that is CEP, Community Eligibility Provision, nobody has to pay. Doesn't matter what your financial situation is. So I just want to let you know that. Those schools will know, but I will say our biggest grouping, we have 21 schools in our biggest grouping, and that's dissolving this year. So I'm hoping I'll be able to get them re-signed up again, and so you need to check back and make sure. I can't promise you those same schools will be covered next year, but more than likely they should be covered. Let me see. We do offer at lunch. People think we just have regular old school lunch, an entree, some fruits and vegetables and a milk out there. We do offer some items called bento boxes and chef salads and stuff. Check the menu. The menu is posted on our website, and we'll tell you which days we offer which of those extra alternative offerings. We do have, though, 2 entrees usually, 2 vegetables and 1 fruit, and milk that they can choose from at lunch. They have to have 3 of those items on their tray to go by. Milk is not mandatory. It's one of the items that's offered that they can take. At breakfast, there is a 2 grain item and 2 fruits and a milk that they can get at breakfast time. Same thing, they have to have 3 things on their tray, or they can have all of those on their tray. So they get those choices. We do offer we do offer snack programs on our line. So breakfast and lunch, depending on the school, we always at lunch. Most schools do have snack items at breakfast that they can take if some want it for their mid-morning snack or afternoon, depending on the school. But we have bottled water, we have 100% juices, we have milk, everything that we have for the actual edible snacks, crackers and stuff like that. It meets USDA Smart Snack rules. It's much better than the stuff you're getting in the grocery store. It might look like the Dorito you get in the grocery store, but it's reduced fat, whole grain, low sodium, low sugar. It's not like the one in the grocery store. Similar in taste, but it's more healthier. So I want to bring that to your attention that if you want to subsidize, if you say, I'm going to bring my lunch from home, that's okay, but you can always enhance it with something. If you want them to get a cold milk off the line and not worried to have to have something cold, carrying it to school, look at the menu and see if you want them to get something extra from the line. UMN forms, which is the unique meal needs. If you have any students with any dietary issues, you can't come through the line. The child can't say, I can't have that because I have I'm a diabetic or I'm gluten issues or any of that. So I've got to have that form filled out. You'll hear a little bit more about that from our nurse liaison in a minute. But that is available on our website. You might think, well, I'm going to go and get my medical note done and get all my shots and everything and turn that in. There is a part for dietary on that, but this form specifically has to be filled out if we're going to have to change stuff on the lunch line and breakfast line. Okay, we can do that. We do puree diets. We modify. We mince. We do everything we have to do if we have the note available to do that. Okay, so we can meet the needs of your students out there with special dietary situations. Was there something else? No, was it? We went through it. God, I thought there was one more thing we wanted to say, but I guess not. All right, we'll answer any questions at the end. Thank you so much.
So our next presenter is the PCS School Nurse Program Manager, Lori Reed. Share information about our school nurses.
Hi there. Good evening. My name's Lori, and I'm the School Nurse Program Manager here in Pitt County. The Pitt County Schools School Nurse Program is actually a combination program between ECU Health and Pitt County Schools. The nurses are actually employed by the hospital, but we work very closely with the school system. And anyway, I just wanted to give you a little bit of information about some of the requirements as far as their health needs when they start school, and just a little bit about the school health program. So the North Carolina Health Assessment Transmittal Form was already mentioned to you by Karen Harrington, but that is our state health assessment form that's required for each of our students to start school. It's very important that we have updated health information when your child starts school so that we can make sure that we can meet their needs medically when they're at school, keep them safe and healthy. They do have to be completed, and the physical has to have been completed within 12 months of them actually starting kindergarten. Okay, so if your students are starting kindergarten in August of 2023, they're going to have had a physical sometime since August of 2022. Okay, so as long as they've had it in that last year, as Karen mentioned, if you're keeping up with your annual well child visits and immunization checks at those visits, then they should be fine. But we do have to have this specific form completed by your child's physician. We can't just have a summary of their physical or anything like that. The state does tell us that we do have to have this form. We also are going to have, well, I will tell you there is that 30-day grace period, but I would just highly recommend that you go ahead, if you don't have your appointment scheduled for your child starting kindergarten, to please make that appointment now. It is very, very difficult to get appointments once you start hitting July, August, and certainly September. So the next thing, of course, is your students' immunizations. We are going to have an up-to-date immunization record. I'm not going to go through every single thing that your child has to have. I would encourage you to just talk with your child's primary care physician about what their immunization needs are for school. All right, so if your child has a medication need, if they're going to need any kind of a medication at school, we do have to require that they have this authorization for medication form on file at school. So a medication in Pitt County Schools is defined as any prescription or over-the-counter medication or supplement which the medical care source deems essential to be administered during school hours. The authorization for medication form is required for both short-term and long-term prescription and over-the-counter medications. It needs to be signed by the physician and the parent, and it specifies the dose, time, and frequency that the medication is to be administered. So this form does have to be filled out by your child's physician, and it has to be signed by you as well. Please make sure that if you have this filled out by the doctor, that you do your part and sign it at the bottom. Otherwise, we're going to have to turn around and send it back to you, and it could just delay the amount of time that we can't administer that child's medication. The policy does encourage families, if possible, if a medication can be given at home, before and after school, to please do try to give it before and after school. But if it is something that needs to be given, that your physician has deemed that it's really necessary that your child receive it during the school day, such as their emergency medications for, say, asthma, or their EpiPens, or things like that, that we do have this authorization on file. The other thing that's really important about medications is that your kindergarten student cannot transport medications to school. Please don't ever put a medication in your child's book bag or lunchbox or backpack with a note to the teacher, please give my child this medication today at lunchtime. It is definitely against the policy, and it's very unsafe for your child to be transporting their own medications to and from school. So please do make sure that if you need a medication at the school for your child, that you designate somebody to actually deliver that medication to the school. Okay. All right, so a couple of the other forms, and I'm just going to show you really quickly. This is what the medication form looks like. There's nothing magical about it, and I do have some copies in the back. If you know for a fact that you are going to need a medication with your student at school, to go ahead and grab tonight if you'd like to. Your physician's office should have these on file as well. Okay, so asthma and severe allergy emergency plans. If your child does have asthma, or they have a diagnosis of a severe anaphylactic type allergy, we would ask that you work with your physician to also provide us with an asthma action plan or a severe allergy plan. The asthma action plans will come from the physician's office. Some of them are electronic, some of them are this pretty colorful duplicate copy, but some of the physician's offices just print one off that's electronic, and it has your student's specific asthma plan on it, and that's fine too. And then the allergy and anaphylaxis plan is a form that we do have available on the Pitt County Schools website, that you can print that off, or you can ask the school for one of those. The school nurse should be able to get you one. But it's really important just that we know what your child's allergy is and how to manage that at school. If they do have an EpiPen that's prescribed, we would ask that you would provide that to the school as well. And as well as their asthma inhalers and spacers. We would ask for those for our students with asthma. All right, so where can you find these forms? You can go to the Pitt County Schools website. There is a section for departments. The school nurse program falls under student services, and we have our own link to the school health program and to the school nurses, and there's several different forms that are listed. I have diet order on here, which is the unique mealtime needs form that Gretchen has already referred to. That is a very important form if your child, like I said, if they have a severe allergy, or they to a food, or they have any other reason that they can need dietary modifications. Just to reiterate what she already said, we do have to have that form on file. That's required by the state. So if your child is allergic to peanuts or allergic to strawberries, you can't just send a note to the teacher and say, oh, my child's allergic to peanuts, please make sure they don't get them in the cafeteria. You know, there are hundreds and hundreds of kids that are going through the cafeteria in a very short amount of time. So this is for your child's protection and safety. They would have that on file, and that it would flag their cafeteria records. So when they give that number, barcode number, it would come up and say this, child cannot have these things, and that would help them to know not to serve your child a certain item. Okay, so this is just a quick picture of the current nurses in Pitt County. There are 26 nurses in Pitt County that serve 41 schools and programs. So I'm not going to read all these things to you. The summary is that there are a lot of kids in Pitt County with health conditions, and there are not a lot of nurses. So just so you're aware, there's probably not going to be a full-time nurse in your child's school. Okay, I don't know what nursing looked like, or school nursing looked like when you were in school, but we don't have a nice little office with cots and medicines and things to take care of your sick children at school. That's not the role that the nurses are in Pitt County. The primary responsibility of the nurses is to provide case management services to those kids that are identified that have chronic health issues, to make sure we have a plan in place that we can keep your child safe and healthy when they're in the school building. So if you get a call from the school that your child is sick, it's probably going to be the teacher that's calling, first of all. We do work very closely, the nurses, to provide education to our school staff on what the illness policies and protocols are, when they do need to call parents to come and get their children. So I would just ask you as parents to please understand that when the teacher is calling you and saying that your child is sick, please don't say to them, I'm going to need you to send them to the nurse before I'm going to come and get them, because there may not be a nurse in the building that day. And the other thing I would ask you is to please keep a current contact phone number on file with your child's teacher, because they really do try to we want your kids to stay at school. We're not trying to send them home. But if we need to get in touch with you, particularly if your child has a severe chronic medical condition or something that can be an emergency, we really need to be able to reach you. So please keep your numbers on file up to date. Okay. All right, so this is just talking again about the priorities of the school nurse is case management of students with chronic health conditions, and what that means is they're identifying these kids that have health needs. They're going to be communicating with you. If you know that your child has a special health care need and might need some special accommodations at school, or they need to have a care plan on file, please reach out to your school. As soon as you know where your child is going to be attending school, go ahead, contact the school and ask to set up a time to either talk with or meet with your school nurse, because they're definitely going to want to, the earlier the better. They're going to want to have a plan in place to make sure that you are comfortable when your child gets to school, and that the teacher is comfortable with any special care that your child might need when they're at school. They do oversee the medication administration. However, the school nurses are not usually the ones that are actually administering the medication. Unless they happen to be on school grounds, your child is having an asthma event, and their medicine is there, because I know you're going to send it along with all the paperwork that you need to, then the nurse, of course, would step in and assist with that. But on a daily basis, the emergency medications are generally kept in the school, in the classroom with your child. Nearby, the teacher would be trained on how to administer that medication, maybe that asthma inhaler, even an EpiPen. We've had teachers that have given EpiPens. And we also have trained first responders on school grounds, so that when the nurses are not there, there is somebody there that can be available in case of an emergency. They also monitor the immunization compliance, and they do some health promotion, health screenings, and educational opportunities when we have the opportunity to do that as well. But overall, we have a very strong partnership with Pitt County Schools. We work very, very closely with our teachers, with our parents, with our administrators, with our counselors, just to make sure that your children have the opportunity to have a safe and healthy experience when they're at school. So just, again, I would highly encourage you, if you have any questions about your student and maybe any health concerns or questions that you might have, just contact your school and ask to set up a time to speak with your nurse. Thank you.
Thank you, Lori. We have two more presenters to share some health information, and then we will get to our question and answer. So we always invite a local pediatrician, and tonight Dr. Wooten is going to share with us perspective from a pediatrician here in Pitt County.
Good evening, I'm Dr. Wooten. I'm one of the pediatricians at Children's Health Services. So I was going to go over what kind of we see and kind of troubleshoot some things that kind of comes up questions for parents getting their kids in kindergarten. So first off, kind of what the nurses had kind of talked about this health assessment form. So you're going to have this filled out to go to kindergarten. There's not a rush. You don't have to go and get it done like right away. A lot of times we get forms and the parents want them, the same day. There's a little bit of time this time of year. If you guys are here at this meeting, you're probably a little proactive and you're probably going to have plenty of time to get it done. Like I said, if your child has had a checkup in the last 365 days, we can fill out this form. So if they had one, this year, March, and you bring the form in, we can still fill it out, even if their next checkup is during the kindergarten school year. We do, most of the practices do fill up pretty quickly with those appointments, especially around August, July, September, trying to get those checkups in. So a lot of people have kind of gotten behind with COVID. So if your child is not up to date, I'd recommend go ahead and making that appointment because it can sometimes take 2 or 3 months to get in. If your child has been going to their checkups regularly, they're probably already up to date with their vaccines. We typically give the pre-kindergarten vaccines, is what we call them, around in the 4-year-old visit. So most kids have already had that at their 4-year-old visit. If for some reason you waited until the 5-year-old visit, then yes, you'll definitely need to make sure you get those done. But it's usually 2 shots. It's the MMR and varicella. It's a combined shot, and then the polio and DTaP. So if they got 2 shots at their 4-year-old visit, you're up to date. You're good. Everything will be good. And we can give you a copy of the vaccine record and fill this form out at your checkup. You can also just call your pediatrician's office to get a copy of the vaccine record as well. If you can fill out this top part here where it says parent to complete, then we can fill out the bottom part. If there is any medications that you want your child to have at school, the biggest one that we fill out is for asthma medications. So you need to have an up-to-date asthma action plan, and the medications you'll send to school, albuterol, a spacer, make sure that they don't expire during the school year, else they will send it back home. So like your albuterol expires in January of 2024, they will send it back home and you have to send in a new one. So if you just make sure you have the most up-to-date prescriptions that you send into school so they won't be sent back. Any medication, we have to fill out one of these forms, even like ibuprofen or Motrin, anything like that. Anything they give at school, we have to fill this out, and it can take a few days. So if you know that they're gonna need a medication at school, getting this done ahead of time is helpful as well. With vaccines, just a note, there are no personal exemptions. So if there's a medical exemption while your child has not been able to get their vaccines, your pediatrician will need to write a note to the school to explain that. Let's see here. Oh yes, this year, Pitt County Schools did come out with kind of a new sick note policy or clarification. We've gotten a lot of patients coming in just to get a note to return to school because they were out for a few days with COVID or other illnesses, even though they didn't really feel like they needed to be seen and they didn't really need any advice. So back in November, Pitt County Schools did come out and say that a doctor's note is not required to return to school following a routine and short-term illness, including COVID. And they kind of define short-term as a week or less. So you can kind of keep that in mind going forward, that you do not necessarily have to have a doctor's note for kind of routine, just general illness, including COVID. So you don't have to waste your time coming to see us when all you really need is that doctor's note. The allergy action plan, this is another one that we fill out a lot too for any allergies. It takes us a while to do this. So if you know that you're going to need it filled out at your child's checkup, let us know ahead of time so the nurse can go ahead and start on it while the physician is in the room. That's pretty much the main forms that we see and that we fill out for kids at school. We do, if we have concerns and we think your child needs to have a speech therapy evaluation, anything like that, some of the services that they've maybe gotten before privately that we think, well, they can do that through the school system now. We can bring that up or even write it on the health assessment for that to be looked into by the school. One other tip, just questions that we've had from parents a lot, is that first semester, especially with your kindergartner, they are really gripey and tired at the end of the day. They have really long days. They're not used to going for all this time and having to be like focused and concentrating. That is totally normal. That's okay. They're not like something wrong with them. They are just tired. They'll fall asleep on the way home. I mean, they are just exhausted. It gets better the second semester, but it takes a while for them to kind of get used to doing that full day of kindergarten, and it's a lot on them. Try to maybe get them to bed a little earlier, starting in earlier August, so they can get kind of into that routine. That can make that transition a little bit smoother, but do not be surprised if your child is just exhausted. And it seems like it's lasting for weeks and weeks and weeks. So that's pretty much all I have, unless there's other questions later.
Thank you. So Children's Health Services, along with Pitt Community College, and Haystack Realty are three of our sponsors for our spring school tour series. So we're very grateful as an organization for the support of the community to make things possible like this and our school tours and those things as a resource for you. Our final presenter tonight is a parent that is set in the seat in which you have been, that had a child go to kindergarten for the first time and has some lived experience of what that was like, and also is one of our newly elected school board members. And so we're going to welcome Kelly Weaver.
And I'm here as a parent tonight, but if you have any questions about anything, I can direct you to who to talk to, certainly. So I have 3 children. I have a 3rd grader, a 1st grader, and a 4-year-old. So I will also be sitting in your seat again in just a couple of years. I don't know. It starts to run together. My children actually attend Elmhurst, and my oldest, who's in 3rd grade, was in kindergarten during COVID. So we've kind of experienced some crazy kindergarten. We've experienced a little bit of normal kindergarten with my current first grader, as normal as kindergarten can get for our children. So really what I want you all to know is that your kids are going to be okay, because they are so capable of doing all of these things that we've talked about. They will be able to hold pencils and write 8 sentences and walk and find their classroom, and they will be able to do all of those things. And it feels really scary walking in the first day or the Independence Day when the mean old principal says you're not allowed to go in anymore. Like those are hard days, but our kids are so capable, and I want you, we believe in your children, and that's why we're telling them to come, and we're ready for them to come, but you've got to believe in them too. You have gotten them to this point and they are ready. I know that doesn't make it easy, because it is not easy, but it is, our schools are so wonderful, our teachers care so deeply, and that's the main thing I want you to know, is that your kids will be okay. They're well taken care of in every single school. There is not a single school in Pitt County that I would not send my kid to, and I believe that with all of my heart and soul. Truly, truly, truly. A couple of things of the logistics to remember, like I'm just going to echo what some of our other presenters have said. Start getting your kids in a routine. Our kids need routine. That's what keeps them healthy. They need to know what to expect, especially when they're crabby. So keep them on a routine, even on the weekend. So get them to bed around the same time every night, all 7 days of the week. Start taking out naps if you're lucky enough that your 5-year-old is still taking a nap. I'm sorry that you might need to start taking that away, but they are not going to get naps in kindergarten, so they are going to be crabby. So start kind of structuring your day so that your kid will be able to make that transition-ish. Let's see. And then practicing some of those independent things. And your child's going to come home and going to tell you things that you're going to be like, wait, what? Because I think I told you, Gretchen, last year. So during COVID, when my currently 3rd grader was in 1st grade, school lunch, everything was free, which was so great. And my son would come home and say, hey, Mom, I ate this for lunch today. And I'm like, wait, I packed you lunch. What? And so and I've noticed since he's been exposed to other things and other friends that are doing different things, that he is exploring and learning new things. So your child's going to pick up things even that our teachers and other educators aren't even it's not part of the standard, but our kids are going to learn, and they're going to grow, and they are going to do amazing. So they're capable. So as a parent, that's the main things I wanted to share. If you have any questions about anything, please let me know. Okay. So I guess everybody's going to come up and answer questions now.
Yep, so we'll kind of just pop around the room, and the presenter that feels like they can best answer the question, that's what we will do. We just want you to know that Pitt County Schools is prepared for and ready to love on your children and to care for your children. And so it's going to be a great experience for them, and we're excited to welcome you to the Pitt County School family. What questions do we still have in the room that we need to get answered? Any questions? Yes.
So for open enrollment, is that what you would do? Any questions?
Sure. Any questions at this point?
So for open enrollment, are you allowed to apply to more than one school? And if so, how does that work?
Yes, so the process, so again, it's an online thing, so you would put your first choice, your second choice, and your third choice. And some people must not do that because they end up with like, the first choice is, everyone just AG Cox, AG Cox, AG Cox, because that's the first in the alphabet. So if you're going to kindergarten, that's not gonna work for you because it's, you know. But, I mean, your first choice, if it's open, then you're gonna get your first choice.
Okay.
So, make sure online heard that too. Open enrollment, when you do the form, you can list a first, second, and third choice when you fill out the online form. So really good question. What other questions do we have? Yes?
I have a couple.
Okay.
Are uniforms still a thing? And, well, I guess I'll pull you up first.
So uniforms, the uniform policy changed this year. Karen, who wants to?
You pretty much can wear anything. Gosh, I don't have the top. I mean, you can't wear tank tops. You can't wear the whole, like, holes where holes, you know, don't need to be kind of holes. Like, be careful where the holes are in your pants. You know, again, not as big of a deal for our 5-year-olds as for our 18-year-olds. But no more uniforms, no more school colors. They can wear graphics. Again, have to be appropriate for school. You know, we don't want anything depicting violence and that type of thing. But it's pretty relaxed. You can wear jeans, you can wear sweatpants. I would recommend sweatpants for kids, particularly if they don't do both, right? Like, sweatpants are great for if you know, that's kindergarten teachers love sweatpants and Crocs probably. But yeah, and it's all listed online. You can go, it's one of the quick links is the dress code. But now your kids are pretty much able to wear what they want. Schools do still sell the spirit wear. But my kids never, all those shirts I bought when you had to have that to wear a t-shirt, they don't wear those anymore.
You have another question?
Yeah, my son has ADHD and he's on an afternoon med every day. The more so my concern is just like behavior management, and if it gets to the point of needing an IEP, who would I talk to at the schools about that?
Okay.
I'm sorry, I couldn't
So,
hear.
asking about the question, like if the need to talk about an IEP, how does that conversation get started? Management of behaviors, if you're coming in and a known, already have an ADHD diagnosis, medicated for that. Kind of a broad
Well,
question.
again, make sure you do the forms to, if your child's gonna take the medication at school, you know, and that you have the dose that, you know, like a second bottle, usually you can get the second prescription, right, or, you know.
If you would like for your child to take their medication, like their ADHD medication at school, it will have to be in a pharmacy labeled container. So a lot of times the pharmacy will be the second bottle that you can, so you'll have one for home, one for school. And of course, you would need to deliver that medication to the school, with that form. But once they start school, I mean, it's not something that they're gonna want to, you know, kind of assess and see how, you know, your child is doing at the start of the school year. And so if there are concerns, if you have concerns, if the teacher sees concerns, you know, that would be a team decision. A team would come together, probably including the teacher and, probably the nurse and maybe the counselor and you, of course, to just kind of talk about what your students' needs are and do that assessment process that they would need to do to determine, you know, what your child's needs are gonna be, if they do need that IEP or not.
And your pediatrician can write a letter requesting either an IEP evaluation or a 504 plan, and I think if you put it in writing, the school has a certain amount of time.
So we would prefer you not do that.
Oh.
So we would prefer to just not do that also. So what we would prefer you do is just say like, we have some concerns, and then let the team, because we're supposed to do interventions prior to. And so what we would want for you to do, I would recommend you share at registration. My child has ADHD, and if there's things, if he's going to preschool or daycare, this has worked well, share that, share what your concerns might be, and then, you know, just frequent communication with the teacher. And then if you start to have concerns, or the teacher does, then they can walk you through the next step.
If you have an IEP from the next
through the intervention, because some kids just need some interventions in the classroom. And they don't need the whole evaluation, so work through a process that we're required from the state to do.
I think a key is communication. Teachers don't know what they don't know. And so even if you're not sure if you need to tell your teacher something, it's probably best to let them know your concern so that the teacher or the team, whoever can work through that. That way, early on, we're addressing any concerns that you have. Communicate.
Hey, Joshua, can I say something else now that you just said that? I wanted to, I had written on my paper and I need you to look at it. Talking with our principals and our teachers are so open to communication. And we have multiple ways, depending on the school that you're at, to communicate through email, calling, Pastojo, all different resources. So our teachers are really quick to respond and communicate with you. Often no news is good news. So if you're not hearing from your teacher, it's not because anything's wrong. So if you have questions, you really do have to take the initiative to have some conversations with them, because they are doing so many things that if your child's doing great, they don't necessarily, that's not the first thought, is to tell you that. Even though we want to hear certainly how things are doing. So if you have questions or thoughts, reach out to your teachers. They want you to be part of it, and part of the education, and also our principals. So visiting the schools is so important. You get every single school has a different guide. It does. The principals will show you. You will see things. So talk with the staff. That's what the staff is here for. So don't be scared of talking to a principal or contacting an assistant principal or a teacher, because that's what they're here for. And we all have to work together to serve the students. We're all seeing them in different ways, so we have to have that communication. So please take the initiative if you have questions to reach out.
What other questions do we have? Yes.
So about that health assessment form, we would have submitted the health assessment form already for the pre-K. Do we have to submit it again for the kindergarten?
To submit what again?
The health assessment form?
Yes.
You do need, like in pre-K, you do one for pre-K, but you do need one for kindergarten.
So is that like each of the grades you have to do?
No, you only have to do it, and actually, I'm glad you asked that, just to clarify, if any of you, I don't know if any of you have just recently maybe moved from out of state or something like that, but any student that's entering public school in North Carolina for the first time has to have that North Carolina health assessment. The pre-K program is separate from Pitt County, and they're under more of a child care program, so they require it, but then of course they do need it together when they start kindergarten. But if you would have an older student, maybe that's been homeschooled, or been in private school, or has moved from out of state and is now living with you, they would also need that North Carolina health assessment completed. So it's not technically a kindergarten health assessment anymore, it's just a North Carolina health assessment. So that's a great question.
Other questions? Yes.
Is there a preferred app or site, I guess everyone uses for, ratings or rankings for the schools, in the district?
So, are the report cards for Pitt County, are those on the website?
Probably, you can Google North Carolina school report card. I mean, that's from the state, but it's not where parents rank. Like, I don't know of a, like, rate my professor type of thing for a school, but it's probably out there somewhere.
So what perspective are you asking?
Just, like, there's some apps that I've seen, but I don't know if there's more that shows like the ratio of, like minorities and test scores and.
That's on school report card.
Yeah, okay. School report card. We'll take questions from anybody. Yes.
What time does school start?
So,
Are all schools different, or?
most elementary schools are 7:50. Is the late bell? The late bell 7:50?
7:30.
So 7:30 is when you can do, drop off, carpool lines. 7:20.
That's when ours opens.
Every school's a little different.
Yeah,
But
it's a little different.
Depending on number of students
in
and
general,
rows they have.
and, because Whitfield's a K-8 school, but I think they're still on the time.
K-8s are on an elementary scale.
The K-8s are on the elementary schedule.
What time do they get out?
2:30. Two,
Again,
225, 230?
We've tried to standardize, but
Yeah.
some things are hard to break.
My kid's school is 225. I leave my house at 2:35, go get it. I figured out these kids are back in the carpool line. And not the very last one to get picked up unless they two back. What questions? What other questions?
To that end, do most schools have like a before school program? I've heard of that at some schools. I don't know if that's just kind of like school by school basis.
So that is a school by school basis. Same thing with after school. Some schools have a community schools recreation after school program, but not all of them.
Not all of them.
So that question is the best direct question to your school.
Okay.
What's available before and or after.
And Communities and Schools has it listed on their website, who provides an after-school program.
What other questions do we have?
So we are allowed to pack our child's lunch?
Yes.
And also that, sorry, this is case sensitive, but do you separate twins?
So that is,
There actually is a policy on that. I never knew that till this year when it came up. But you can, I would suggest you talk about your preference with your principal regarding that. Most principals would say they prefer them to be separate.
to the school lunch, I would just ask the teacher to make sure there's not an allergy in the class. I know
That is true.
one
But
year,
usually they'll let them know. They usually is forms they'll fill out in the classroom level.
one of my children's had a classmate that had a peanut allergy, so we did pack peanut butter and those things.
It's also interesting what the kids hear because we've never been told that there's an allergy, but my son's like, stop packing granola bar because so-and-so on the other side of the classroom can't have that. I'm like, well, your teacher hasn't told me that. So they hear like all the things, so they also have their own policies that they're being known to.
Yeah, we can restrict students from taking anything in their, you know what I mean? We can
Right.
restrict them to say, you can't bring peanut products because there's somebody in your classroom that has a peanut allergy. But we do try, especially with something that's like an anaphylactic allergy, to do some sort of education so that parents are aware of that situation, but we can't restrict anybody actually having.
But as I said, you still can go through the line and buy an a la carte item if you want.
And there's a way to prepay too.
I know, that's one thing I forgot to say.
So
If
you wanna
you,
speak up real quick?
yeah, I meant to say, I said the other day afterwards. So when you go in for open house or anytime during the school year, you can either open house, take money, we take cash, check, money order at the school level. If you wanna use a debit or credit card, the only way to use that is on an online service that you can put money on account. There is a third-party fee. But it does get right on their account immediately. Within 30 minutes, it usually attaches to that account. So if you do it at 10 o'clock, it's usually there. So don't, I mean, as a parent, I've missed it a few times and I've gotten on and just made it for my son. So I understand you might forget, so you got some time to get that up there. You will need their student ID number though to do the online service. So when you, go in your first day of school and you get their information, you'll have their number and that's what you use to enter that online source. So you can pay at the cafeteria level, you can send it by them, I know you got, small children, so I suggest kindergartners bring it in an envelope with their, name on it. So we'll be easily able to find it as it gets misplaced in their backpacks and so they can go grab it easier. Some teachers take them up, some kids take it separately, some drop it off in the morning at breakfast on their way to the classroom and get it out of their, out of their hands and just take it first. So that's up to the parent and how you want to train them to do that. But cash, check, or money order can be taken anytime throughout the day or up to like the last day of school will take 30 minutes. That's perfectly fine. And if you have questions, again, you can call our office. The manager at your school can tell you what she knows at the point of time. So again, if they're matched up in the system of open house, she can give you their number and stuff. If they're not already in the system, they'll be given their numbers and stuff to them, what they have to use. They can learn it. Kindergartners actually better than fifth graders about learning their numbers. They can do that 6-digit number on a keypad better than the upper level. So do practice that with them. They actually feel a little good about learning that. So I say try to do that one for them. But yes, money on account or food.
One benefit of the online part is you can see what they bought.
Yes.
So my kids' money go like disappearing very quickly, and I looked, I was like, snack, snack, snack. Okay, that's where it's going. One snack a day. After that, you put it on your own card. So that's just the benefit of the online piece of that versus sending in cash. Question?
For the, schools that have the Spanish immersion program, so if we were doing open enrollment, I know you said rank it, you know, top 5, is that a separate application for that? Or do you have to get into the open enrollment school first and then you apply for that? How does that work?
Yes, they're both open enrollment, so you would just need to choose which is your, first one.
But as part of that open enrollment registration, is there a way to do that, to be part of that program? Is that a separate application? Or
It's not, so I took this over in October, so this is my first, beginning of the year one. I'm sorry, I don't know that, but if you want to write your number down, I can do that answer. I will tell you this about Spanish immersion. When you get in, and they'll tell you this, you will sign a contract. And so if you get in, you're in. And so your kid's gonna struggle because it's not their native language. But stick with it, it will benefit your child. My child did it when I was in Edgecombe, and when we came back, we didn't do it because it was only one of my children to get it. I wish they had had it. So, it's a great program, but it's frustrating for them a little bit. But my child always says, boy, Spanish was so much easier to learn than English.
And it is different at different schools. Like, how often, one school's, every other, Pac told us is one day English, full English, one day full Spanish, and it rotates. Whereas Elmhurst, I believe, is 90% Spanish. So they're slightly different between the programs within the school, so you might want to just call the specific schools and ask the question.
Talk to the principal of how, I know at Elmhurst Miss Staples, I don't know her process, but I know I've already heard her talking about parents have called her about it, and about the program, so I think even just being on her radar, because, at least at Elmhurst, please correct me if I'm wrong here, that, kindergartners will get in open enrollment typically, and typically there's thin space in kindergarten, and so if that's your preference, that, Miss Staples needs to have it on her radar as well to be looking for those names that are interested.
And there'll be a lot of interest meetings. There were last year. I know that
Even
they
already
did
was
things.
one.
That was for current. Yeah. When they had the
Which then begs the question, how do we get hooked up to the interest meetings?
Would it be online?
It's on the school's website. Stands a little help.
I know that heard talk about.
What other questions?
I was just wondering, when it comes to the school lunch, if we pack our kids' lunch, we prefer it just to be a cold lunch that's packed, so teachers won't have to worry about it.
Not all schools have microwaves. We do not furnish microwaves. That's up to the individual school administrators. And yes, for elementary, I'm assuming they would have to go in and help them out. I don't know how much the kindergartners actually use it or not, and that'll be each school. So when you go to your walkthroughs, I would definitely ask that question, how they handle it later.
My children were not allowed to use the microwave at elementary school. As a mom, I just can say that they were not allowed, at their elementary school, they did not let the students use the microwave.
The walkthroughs, when you need to ask that, I really.
Yeah, that would be within the school.
Sure.
Is there when it comes to once the kid our kid is accepted to school, is there a certain way that it's determined where the kids are placed in what class? Right, is there a certain determination factor in what classroom the kids are placed, how they grouped or anything like that?
Again, the screening is not like it used to be where it was ranking, it's very informal. They do try to balance kids, boy, girl, so they try to really balance.
And that, just to reiterate, a really good reason to enroll as early as you can is because they're not trying to do that the day before school. And it just helps to know how many teachers a school needs. And so the earlier you can enroll, the better. Any other questions?
Do you know how much recess time kindergartners get, and are they allowed to use it, like taking it away as a punishment?
Oh, this evening crowd is good. I think they are 20 minutes maybe.
20 minutes is when I was in.
Okay, I was thinking 20 minutes. encourage them to take it away from, as a punishment. Sometimes children are allowed, you know, if they are behavioral issues, they may have to walk rather than play with their friends or do an alternative activity.
All questions you can get answered at school tours.
Other questions? Yes.
So how does the school bus stuff work, like do every kid get a school bus or do?
So if you're going to your school that your district is to, you have bus transportation. If you do open enrollment, you have to provide the transportation to your open enrollment school. So if you're going to the school that where you live is your district school, then a part of the enrollment process is letting them know that you're gonna use the bus, and that allows them, assistant principals, before school starts, to start working on the bus route for your child. Open enrollment, one of the requirements is you have to provide the transportation to your open enrollment school.
How do we know what school are in?
So, good question. I've tried to recommend people go to OPIS, OPIS Pitt County, and you can type in either your address or your name, and generally that works. It didn't work for her, but one of the things that lists at the bottom of that is the 3 schools that are in your district. So that's a OPIS Pitt County. You can just Google OPIS Pitt County. It's a Pitt County resource that you can look up if you own your home. I'm not sure how that works.
You can just write it down. No, even if you live there.
If you do the address, put your address in.
Put the
Just
number
put the
in,
address.
and then don't put in your,
Right, don't put street drive, just
right,
put
just
like
put the number, and
number.
then hit search, and it will put up everything. If yours is 7676, it's gonna do every 7676 in the, and then you put Main Street, and it will show you what your school is. Your, you know, all the way up to high school.
Yep, so the middle elementary and high school. Any other questions? You're probably gonna leave here and have another question. My email is on the paper right here. Feel free to write that down. If I don't have the answer to your question, I've got a lot of people that I know that do know the answer to your question. And I am more than happy to be a resource to help connect you to somebody that can answer your question. Thank you for coming tonight. One last couple of reminders. Before you leave, if you want to hit the QR code on the forms and sign up for one of our school tours. Again, if there's a conflict with your date and you get with the school and you're having trouble figuring out when to do it, get with me and I'm happy to help do that. There may be a few last resources that are available on the back table there. The Inspire magazines are yours to keep. Lots of great information about Pitt County schools in there. So any way we can be a resource to you, let us know. But again, thank you for being here tonight. And hopefully we were able to answer your questions and lower your anxiety level, at least just a little bit.